Starfield had an absolutely amazing trailer over at Gamescom, and we are getting a lot of information coming from there, probably more to come here in the next day. We've got some reviews popping up prior to the official NDA date being up, so we're going to go over some of that and a lot of the thoughts that are happening prior to launch. Should you be hyped, or is this going to be another Bethesda buggy, frustrating mess? We're going to look at that and try to help give you some insight what to expect on day one. We are planning on covering Starfield and playing. We're going to be streaming it a ton. So if you want to see Starfield gameplay, streaming, etc., please consider hammering down that like button, subscribing. We've got our Twitch linked in the description below. Let's get into it. We do want to mention that the preloads have begun for Xbox. If you're unaware, that started back on August 17th. Obviously, get your downloads going prior to starting. Steam should be available on August 30th. Sadly, there is no PlayStation option on this. We'll get into that in a little bit. And that little bit is right now. So we've got a lot of exclusivity in gaming these days. It's not fun. I don't love it. It's happening with GPUs. It's happening with consoles. It'd be great if everybody could just share their products so we could all play them in whatever platform we might have. But sadly, that is sort of the nature of the business right now. And playing into that is a bunch of people looking to review bomb Starfield on day one. These are typically PlayStation type folks who are either upset or don't like Xbox. Whatever the reason is, Metacritic is going to have a number of fake accounts made and get the game bombed. I would expect to see this on a number of different platforms, but be aware that these sort of things happen. Jumping into a brief kind of pre-review thing, and if you haven't seen this one, I will admit, is a bit silly. There's some discussions out there about the menu screen and the fact that it might not be good enough for a good game. Look, I don't even need to read this about whether the opinion is good or bad. I am never going to judge a game by its menu screen unless it doesn't work. If it gets me to where I'm going and is generally simple to understand, I'm good. I think either way, it doesn't necessarily indicate a rushed team, overwork, or somebody who didn't care. Oddly enough, Pete Hines, the senior vice president and head of publishing at Bethesda, responded directly to this and said, or they designed what they wanted, and that's been our menu for years, and it was one of the first things they settled on. Also takes a shot at somebody who's apparently another developer. If you dig into who this person is, it sounds like they might have been somebody who got fired as CEO from another company. So again, know what you're looking at out on the internet. Now we're going to put a number of reviews in this, and we will link those below if you want to read them in full. We are not going to go through every item of this. IGN has something out there about what's happening in the open mission. The thing that I want to focus on in this particular article is their comments about the visuals. They say here, the visuals here are a noticeable step up for Bethesda game studios, but maybe not quite comparable to recent graphical powerhouses. So that gives you some expectations on what to see. I know the trailer from Gamescom was insane. I remember looking at it live and going, was that an actor? Is that a real life person? Or is that CGI? I'm like, I had a hard time telling. So there's certainly some cutscene graphics that are great. But again, when it comes down to it, we're going to really be doing a lot of gameplay. And it's nice to feel really immersed in that. So if there's bugs or faces are sort of messed up and it takes you out of that experience, it does make the game feel less immersive. But they go on to say environments do look great, but the character models still seem to possess that classic Bethesda stiffness. There doesn't look like there's a lot going on behind those eyes. And that's one of the things that I do want to mention in a lot of the gameplay that I've seen or any of the trailers that I've seen. The eyes just take me out of it a little bit. So it's kind of like whatever they're using over Bethesda for eyes, I think they need to figure out, because it does take you out of that immersion. They do go on to say one thing that doesn't threaten to underwhelm, however, is the simple, majestic sounding music with stirring and mystery laden strings accompanying these early footsteps. Music can help you get into that immersion. So hopefully the music is good. I've heard a lot of it so far and it does sound phenomenal. Tying into the what to expect a little bit is that Starfield is expected to launch as version 1.6.35. You compare that to their Fallout 4 launch, it was version 1.1. So this does give some indication that they've done a number of different versions, QC. Hopefully this helps the launch day be even better. Probably one of my favorite finds so far on the internet as far as reviews go. You might have already seen this. On Discord, a user named Tyler says, it's mind-blowing how good the game looks for being creation engine. Also, 15 hours in and not a single bug. Now, a lot of us are expecting a ton of bugs because it's a Bethesda game and that's been an issue. And generally any launch day has a lot of bugs. Somebody makes a joke about shrimp. Then somebody says, wait, really? Because I take what you say very seriously. I wasn't expecting such high praises about the graphics. And then also no bugs, what? And Tyler comes back to say, I'm serious. And then the person joked about how they were canceling their pre-order because they don't buy Bethesda games to not have bugs, which is a pretty good joke. Tyler goes on to say, I'll get into it in my review. This game is something, I'll tell you. So this helps build the hype, at least from one person. Again, you can't exclude the negative and only take the positive, but it's nice to see this. So let's see what else we've got out there. I want to highlight something that Pete Hines, again, he works for Bethesda. He's the head of publishing, so he's going to hype the game as much as possible. But this isn't about how good or bad it is. What I like about what he says here is the amount of time that he's actually put in and still nowhere near done. So let's hear it from his lips.
We love what we've done with this game. It's now time for you guys to really have a go with it.
Yeah, and if I'm being honest, like, there's really not an amount of time that I'm comfortable enough of, like, now you've played enough Starfield to get what this game is. Because, like, I'm at 150, 160 hours on my current playthrough, and, like, yeah, I haven't even come close to do, like, there is so much stuff I have intentionally not done. It's like we try and tell everybody how big this game is, and the folks that are playing it, like, one of the few things they will tell us is, yeah, you weren't kidding how big, like, I can't believe how big it is. Like, yeah, it's content and explore, like, no matter how you want to play, there is so much for you to do in this game.
So it sounds like we're all going to have to buckle up to a lot of hours played. And remember, you can have different playthroughs. We're not all going to have the same experience. And how some of these planets work, they're going to generate differently. There might be locations that are different for me than what you get. So the expansiveness of this game is literally insane. Coming out of Gamescom, we got something that's a no spoiler gameplay review. They showed 25 to 30 minutes of gameplay. It says the game looks nice, however, faces do look dated. That's the second time we've heard that, so I think that's something that we could sort of expect upon launch. Helmet highlights faces make them look better. Okay, again, face issue. Sound effects and soundtrack are spectacular. All right, second time we've heard that. Gunplay and ship combat is hard hitting. I think you could tell that a little bit from the gameplay trailers that we've seen, everything out there. It looks like it is a fun first-person shooter. Obviously, you can turn it into third person as well if you prefer that. Somebody's talking about Friday, something big is coming. So we'll see. Maybe we'll have another video coming out tomorrow on this. We'll check out what that's going to be. We're very excited to dive into that. Enemy hit feedback is a lot better. Views, vista, and lighting are jaw-dropping. Honestly, I could have told you that from a lot of the trailers we saw. Those things are absolutely phenomenal. Voice acting much better than previous titles. Reload animations were surprisingly slick. So pretty good review there for what they saw in person in Gamescom. Apparently it's taking over Gamescom as well. It's invigorated the entire gaming world per this person who's experiencing over at Gamescom. People are amazed by the game. It's a top seller on Steam. Everyone's talking about it. People are rushing to buy Xboxes to play. Apparently the Xbox sales in the US have jumped 660%. That is straight bonkers. That is not a cheap system. I do think that is really exciting. Hopefully this helps the launch of the game and builds a ton more hype. We've got a review from GamesRadar.com where they talked about how Bethesda's teased Starfield's opening at Gamescom, and its scope is up there with Fallout and Skyrim. I want to focus on the last part of this here, where they showed off this abridged version of the opening stretch, and it blew this person away. You've got to love hearing that. If we keep hearing stuff like that, hype is just going to blow the roof off this thing. They go on in the article to say that facial animations look sharper and more defined, the environments look more vibrant, and the combat looks really damn capable. Another highlight in this article talks about how immersive the game seems to be. Things as small as grabbing a sandwich from an NPC and them complaining about it. It's going to be interesting to see how immersive they let us be. Then we have a gamer who's been on PlayStation since 1995. But after witnessing 25 minutes of gameplay from Starfield, obviously from a review code, they are more hyped to play Starfield than any other game released this year. They talk about how it's beautiful and relatively bug-free, and they can't believe that Bethesda made this. So again, just one person, but it helps, given that it's from the PlayStation side of things. Then we've got a review from Industry.biz, talks about how Starfield is the starting gun for the first-party Xbox games. This is the beginning of something that's going to be really special, Xbox CMO says. Now, we talked about the sales earlier. I think this article is likely on point, and those two things tie together. And generally, when you're looking for reviews out there, whether it's positive or negative, I would look for reoccurring themes in them. Some of these quotes are coming from somebody within Xbox, so always take those with a grain of salt, but they do think it's the start of something big. Again, these articles will be linked in the description below. And then we've got Chris Dring coming in saying that he is really impressed with Starfield so far. It definitely doesn't feel rushed. Now, I could keep going through a ton of different reviews out there. I would recommend, honestly, just going to Google or whatever your favorite search engine is and just type in Starfield reviews, but be wary of spoilers out there. From everything I'm seeing, it seems that people are very, very impressed. If you're someone who can't miss out on the hype on day one, then I'd highly recommend pre-ordering. If you're someone who wants to be a little bit more guarded, like I mentioned, like and subscribe. Check out the Twitch once we start playing. Let's see how it goes the first few days. We are going to be doing early access, so we will be giving our thoughts throughout. We've played a multitude of type of games over the years, so we give a nice general overview on how anybody might be able to come in and play this game. Let us know what your thoughts are as far as how hyped you are and whether you think this is going to be a great game, whether you think it's going to be something we're all going to be playing for years to come, or if it's just going to be dead in the water within the first month. Comment below, share with your aunts, uncles, nieces, nephews, hammer down like buttons, all that sort of thing, and until next time, we hope you have a wonderful day.